Today's top stories at NBR. Business NZ decides not to engage with proposed fair pay agreements. Ebos's billion-dollar purchase of Life Healthcare. FMA taking High Court action against Kiwibank. And there's more coming right up. Kia ora and welcome to NBR Today, a wrap of the day's top business stories from the authority in New Zealand business news since 1970, nbr.co.nz. It's Thursday, December 9th. I'm Paul Brennan. Thanks again for joining us. About 40% of the $40 million settlement reached between the government and more than 200 kiwifruit growers fighting for compensation over the devastating PSA3 outbreak a decade ago was paid out in costs and fees to litigation funder LPF. The long-running class action negligence lawsuit was set for a week-long hearing in the Supreme Court in February before a $40 million settlement between the parties was announced. Claimant group Strathboss Kiwifruit, which represented 214 grower businesses, and post-harvest operator Seeker, had brought the case backed by litigation funder LPF Group. Workplace Relations Minister Michael Wood is unperturbed by Business NZ's decision not to engage with proposed fair pay agreements. Under the government's proposal, Business NZ would have been a fallback organisation to negotiate on behalf of employers in a sector, just as the Council of Trade Unions would be for workers. But Business NZ Chief Executive Kirk Hope announced today, Thursday, the business organisation would take no part in the process, and he called on the government to abandon plans to introduce fair pay legislation. ACT leader David Seymour has also called on the government to drop fair pay agreements. The new local boss of global law firm DLA Piper says it's a law firm like no other in New Zealand and is talking up its global reach as a major competitive advantage. DLA yesterday, Wednesday, named Head of Employment Laura Scampion its new country managing partner, effective January 1st. She succeeds corporate partner Martin Wiseman, who has held the role for more than a decade and will remain at the firm. Fonterra's farmers have strongly backed a new capital structure proposal that will reduce the required shareholding for co-op suppliers and change the function of the NZX-listed Fonterra Shareholders Fund. In a statement, Fonterra Chair Peter McBride said the decision was the most important for farmers in a decade. He said 85.16% of votes were cast in favour of the proposal, with 82.65% of eligible votes being cast. The ballot was held at a special meeting immediately following Fonterra's annual meeting in Invercargill today, Thursday. McBride said the co-op would work with the government on how the Dairy Industry Restructuring Act could be changed to accommodate the new capital structure. Ebos's Australian $1.17 billion purchase of medical device distributor Life Healthcare is the sixth announced in the past 12 months, and it intends to keep acquiring. The NZX-listed healthcare and animal care firm announced the Life Healthcare acquisition to the market this morning, Thursday morning, shortly after going into a trading halt to facilitate an Australian $642 million underwritten placement it is using to fund the bulk of the acquisition, alongside Australian $100 million retail share offer and a new Australian $540 million debt facility. The deal, initiated after Ebos approached the company in early September, is expected to settle before the end of 2022. Ebos Chief Executive John Cullity said thinking in the medium to long term to keep generating growth for shareholders, the company wanted to expand beyond Australia and New Zealand. The Financial Markets Authority, FMA, is taking High Court action against Kiwibank for making false or misleading representations over fee waivers. Kiwibank's terms and conditions said customers would not pay transaction fees on their accounts if they also had a mortgage with the bank. However, between September 2005 and March 2020, about 35,000 home loan customers did not have their fees waived and were overcharged a total of $1.17 million, the FMA said. In a speech last month, FMA Acting General Counsel Karen Chang reminded market participants that the regulator expected them to self-report issues and potential breaches. The full details of those stories and more are at nbr.co.nz right now. Tomorrow at NBR, in his weekly Hunter's Corner column, Tim Hunter says Auckland's mayor can't say no to extra spending, while in her Friday column, Rachel Smalley asks whether ministers should be appointed outside of Parliament. I'm Paul Brennan. I look forward to being with you again tomorrow from around lunchtime for the morning's NBR trending stories. Then same time, same place again tomorrow from 5:30 and through the weekend for another NBR This Week.